Hello, Sage here on the Sage channel, and recently Space Engineer's dev build received an update, and, well, the update, is something a bit different. It's something I have, well, very mixed feelings about. What this update did, and by the way, the dev build, if you don't know, is a build that everyone has access to. What everyone is automatically on is the stable branch. If you go ahead and right-click the game, you can go over and switch to dev build, but in this dev build, they've gone ahead and changed your all blocks category. So you can see here, it's quite a bit different from the stable branch now. A lot of it has been condensed, so it's a condensed UI. And instead of having a billion different blocks up here, you'll notice that you just have a light armor block, heavy armor block, singular interior block, and a few rounded ones, but there's not all the different variants of them, or at least not as many variants as there were. And now, if you look at my hot bar down at the bottom, and I use my mouse scroll wheel and scroll up and down, you'll see that actually this block in front of us is changing between these different blocks. So that's how you now switch between them instead of having them on your hotbar. Now, my first response to this was, well, honestly, disgust and horror, because I'm very much used to having all my hotkeys down at the bottom in a very specific order, so I can be like, oh, I want to put down a corner piece, and pa, corner piece, and then a square piece, and then another corner piece, pa. And instead of that, now, of course, you do this middle mouse scroll, rotate you around, there you go, and then put this down there. And well, same sort of thing done. Now, there's a few issues with this. First and foremost, if you want to put down, let's say, a square piece and then instantly put down a corner, well, at first it's a bit confusing, but once you get it memorized, it's not too bad, since there are 4 of them, I believe. So, you start out with, and we press number 4 button to reset the square, we can scroll down, and we're instantly with this piece, down again, we're at this one. So it basically comes down to, well, if you're going to work as quickly as you would otherwise, it comes down to basically memorizing how many scrolls of your mouse wheel you need. And it's a little tabs on your mouse wheel. So if you spin your mouse wheel really quick, it's going to go through a whole bunch of them, which is really kind of problematic, but at the same time, if you got used to precision mouse movements, you'll actually, well, you'll know exactly how many little ticks to go through. So you can actually see this becoming, well, very useful. So we can go ahead and put this down, rotate you around, put you over there, let's scroll, and I've seemed to have switched to something else, because they've also changed the way you start grids. So this isn't actually an issue. This is actually something pretty cool, and it's the fact that now you can just place anything anywhere. If you go to G, there's no new structure button at the bottom right. Literally, you can just place any block anywhere now floating in midair, and you can just use your control button and mouse scroll to bring it farther or closer to you, which is pretty cool. And of course, while holding control, it's not going to switch between the different blocks. Oh, also, you might notice I'm on a small block now, and even when I go back up to this, it's not switching back to a large block. That's because now you press R, and you get the message at the top middle there that tells you to switch between the two, and they even have little lights that show you, hey, you're on a big block, you're on a small block. And you'll even see above that little flag, that's telling you if you're on a grid or not. So right now I'm not on the grid, but I go to this, and it says, hey, look, you're snapping to a grid. It's aligning it basically to any other grid shape you have in the area. So it's snapping to grid. Same if I was actually aiming at this, that little icon changes once again to show snap to grid. But of course you can press B, and even though we're aiming at this, I'll press B here. Oh, it's not doing it. Well, I know on a planet a lot of times it'll be like, hey, you're snapping to grid, you press B and it'll align at the planet, and no longer shall it snap to grid. Anyway, let's go ahead and go back to what I was talking about. Let's disable our symmetry here, we don't need that. Let's go ahead and place one of you, and then one of you, and then we want to go ahead and continue this shape here, and you'll notice that an unfortunate thing that happens here is when you switch between these, and because I haven't memorized them all, I still find the old way that would be quicker. You'll notice that it's resetting our rotation of this block. So every time I switch back to these different blocks, I have to rotate them around again, which is extremely annoying. It's something that I believe existed with the previous version, but I don't know, I was just quite used to it. It's still an error that exists, let's put it as that way. But you can see, it doesn't take too long to build with this. I still kind of long for the old way, but it's not actually too bad once you get used to it. Another thing they have here are these, our standard little slopes here, and now it actually makes it a bit quicker to build with these, because you just, well, like that, I placed one, I rotated the mouse, it switched to the thinner one. Again, unfortunately, now I pressed 2 and went back to this slope again, it reset its orientation, but again, I can pretty quickly go ahead and just rotate it about without issue. Rotation is still done the same old way with the insert home, page up, page down buttons, and I still have that bound to my Razor and Naga. And we can go ahead and place this here, go back to you. Unfortunately, you've reset your direction. But overall, that seems to be working pretty well, and it actually seems relatively quick and intuitive. My only real complaint after messing with this for a couple hours, because I have been messing around for probably about 4 hours in total or so with this, is that when you go to armor blocks, they're not all there. My only real want right now is just that when you go to armor blocks, they would all still be there. They'd have all these special versions that would scroll through them all with your mouse, and then they'd also have all these standard versions here as well, just in case you wanted to set it up the old way. Joel, aka Zoc, the main guy who does the Space Engineers update videos on the main Space Engineers channel, he did say you can search them up, so we could search up like slope and go ahead and set everything up the way we usually like it. Like, I personally like to have my interior block on number 1 just for safekeeping, and then slope there, corner there, so you can still search them up and go ahead and go through them all. I believe it's just block, wasn't it? Yes, unfortunately block is reset to just that. And then I can't remember the last one. We'd have to actually go flying over here and looking at it. Or actually we can mouse scroll over to it so I can find its name. Inverted corner. Ooh, inverted corner. Right there. There we go. So now you can still set it up the old-fashioned way. It just takes a little bit of searching. Again, my only real complaint, or want, is just that when you click on armor blocks, they'd all be listed out here so you wouldn't have to search through the names if you wanted to set up your old-fashioned way. Same with all of these, basically. If you go to, yeah, here in conveyors and stuff, they have a conveyor system all set up into a singular block now. This guy right here. And that takes a little bit more getting used to, and is a bit finicky at times, again, in the fact that it just resets it, but overall, not too bad. There we go. I guess it doesn't take too long to get used to it all anyway. But yeah, it's pretty quick actually, once you get the hang of it. There's one other thing I'd like to say, and besides those, and that is when you're building in Spectator. So, if you don't know, when you are in Spectator, you can use your mouse scroll wheel. So you see how quickly we're moving here? You can use your mouse scroll wheel and slow yourselves down. So you can have an almost cinematic movement. So we're moving nice and slow. Well, unfortunately, if you're using this to build, when you're using your scroll wheel in your Spectator, it's still going to be changing your movement speed. And I think if we use Alt, yeah, there we go, Alt, and using it will change your movement speed without changing the block. But of course, when you're just changing the block normally as you are building, it's going to be changing through your movement speeds, unfortunately. Bit annoying. That needs to be fixed, I guess. They'll probably just change it so you can hold Alt and use the mouse wheel, and then that'll change your speed, whereas just normally this would not change your speed. Doop, doop. Yeah, you can see we slowed down a bit now. Okay, one more thing. If you go in the third person now, you cannot just zoom out with the mouse scroll wheel, because some people do solely play in third person to build and everything. Now you have to hold Alt and zoom out. A bit annoying because, of course, it just automatically takes you back to your center point when you let go, but of course it's probably always worked that way. You'd expect it to be like triple tap Alt or something, but I guess I'm being silly. Okie dokie, I think that's it for this. I just wanted to show that it's changed and give a little tiny bit of feedback, and, you know, a humble request that we would have all the standard ones in here as well. And I'd also just like to point out some silly things like if we go to turrets, let's go ahead and just put a turret on our hotbar here. I'd expect it to be like, oh, Gatling turret, cool, and then you'd mouse scroll wheel between a Gatling turret and a missile turret. Don't have that. What else? Seat. Oh, by the way, you can't search up a flight seat. A flight seat's just missing from here, apparently. Yeah, flight seat's just missing, so you have to go ahead and put your standard station seat down and then rotate over the flight seat. Bit odd, that. What else is there? That's about it. Oh, reactors. I don't understand why they're not grouped. Thrusters are all grouped now, which is really, really cool. Large and small thrusters, but they're all still separated into 3 different types. I really like that. Overall, it's pretty cool, actually. I originally saw it and was like, this looks god-awful and terrible. But once you get used to it, it's actually pretty quick, and it saves a lot of hotbar space. Again, only request is that they just go ahead and have just the standard stuff still there when you click on the specific categories. Alrighty guys and gals, that's it for me. I just felt like sharing a little feedback. Yeah, that's that. Thanks so much for watching, and I shall see you guys and gals next time. Ta-ta.